M3 TV is proud to present Locker Room Talk. Today's guest, Gus Gerard. There he is. Look at you, man. You're looking good.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, man.
You look like you could play the power forward spot today. I know you played small forward in Denver. Am I correct?
Yes, I was small forward.
Small forward. Okay. So just to make this proper, start this properly, I'm Mike Claire. I have a very special guest with me. This is Gus Gerard, who had a stellar career in the old ABA, and then eventually moved on to the NBA, played with Detroit, played with Kansas City. Am I right?
Yeah, Denver. We merged in with Denver, and then I went to Buffalo.
You
Detroit,
went to Buffalo with the
Kansas
Braves?
City. Yeah, Kansas City Kings. And I had a short little stint with the Spurs at the end of my career.
And with the Braves, if I remember correctly, you had an opportunity to play with the immortal John Gianelli, right?
You know what? They had just traded John to the Knicks. They had just traded him to the Knicks before I got. No, John was still there. No, he was.
John went to Buffalo from the Knicks for McAdoo and Tom McMillan.
Yeah, Tom McMillan. Yeah, John was there. Oh man, John liked to toast a few cold ones after the game. You know, I'll get some of that good buffalo wings and stuff up there.
You know, I as a Knicks fan, and I love McAdoo and Buffalo, but as a Knicks fan, I gotta tell you, I always appreciated Gianelli's efforts because he had his limitations, but I think that man always gave 100% of whatever talents he had, and to get McAdoo, I just loved it. That of course didn't work out the way us Knicks fans wanted. But back to you. So you came out of college. Now I'm trying to, and I did some homework, but you were drafted originally by the NBA. I'm trying to remember, was it the Phoenix Suns or the Portland Trailblazers?
Portland Trailblazers.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. That's right. It was the Blazers. And now you wasn't, because I was a little confused by the homework I did. You didn't actually get drafted in the ABA. Is that correct?
Okay. Here's what happened. The Carolina Cougars drafted me. Larry Brown was the coach. They had my rights. Well, they folded and became the St. Louis Spirits. Mm-hmm. Larry Brown went to Denver. St. Louis put a whole new team in St. Louis, new coach and everything, but they had my rights being the former Carolina Cougars. So I signed after my junior year at UVA at Virginia. I left after my junior year because they offered me a tremendous amount of money back in 1974. I mean, it was one of the biggest contracts at that time for somebody coming out. Marvin Barnes, of course, got more than I did, but he was the number 1 or 2 pick in the NBA also, and he chose the ABA.
And the NBA still was assigned in high school guys or underclassmen, I mean.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I signed as underclassmen to St. Louis, and started my career there with a big 18,000 seat arena, and we had sometimes 2,000 people there or 1,000 people. But I'll tell you what, we were entertaining. We had 5 rookies, Mac, on that team. We had Marvin Barnes, who you didn't know. Marvin might get 54 and 30. He had a game 54 and 30 that he got to the locker room 10 minutes before the game.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Carrying a bag of cheeseburgers and said, "Never fear, news is here. Rest his soul."
Yeah.
Rest his soul. That's my man. He and Marvin have both passed. Maurice Lucas and Marvin have both passed. Right. I miss them brothers, man. And they took care of me. Can you imagine me getting to play the wing and run on the break? I averaged 8.5 rebounds my rookie year, 16 and a half points. And all I had to do was rebound a little bit, run on the break, and sprint. Marvin and Maurice would clear them boards, throw it out, and I'd take off, dunk, and run. And we had a blast. I'll tell you, I started in St. Louis.
And Fly Williams was there too, right? You played with Fly?
We had a rookies. Yeah, I was going to tell you about James Fly Williams from Brownsville, I think.
Yeah.
Bed-Stuy or somewhere. Yeah. Fly he was something else. He was one of the most talented guys I've ever played with, Mac. He just couldn't, he was so integrated in his own game that he couldn't do the things a coach wanted him to do team-wise. I mean, he could score on anybody or anything, but everybody else would be standing around watching him. Kind of like James Harden is
Kind
now.
of like Harden, yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say the same thing.
Had the ability to score like that. I'm serious. He was something else. And we had our front line, Maurice Marvin, myself, Fly was the 4th rookie, and Jimmy Foster from Connecticut was 5th rookie on that team.
So with that front line, though, now between you, Marvin, and Maurice, and I understand it was the ABA, and I understand that for those of you who are basketball aficionados, understand when I say the NBA was more a symphony orchestra, everything was orchestrated. The ABA, on the other hand, was more jazz improvisation. So who played the middle between the three of you? I mean, was it you?
No, I was on the wing the whole time. Maurice Lucas played center. Marvin played power forward. But when one of them would go out of the game, the other one would play center. They interchanged. We really had like two. They were both 6'9", Marvin and Maurice, strong as an ox, both of them. And I was 6'7.5", could fly up and down the court and run and jump. And so I just kind of worked my way in, and we just meshed as a rookie front line. You know, Marvin had his issues, of course. It's well documented.
Right.
You never know, maybe he won't show up for the game or not. And sometimes that happened. But when he came to play, man, when Marvin Barnes was right, he was one of the best guys. I'm telling you, Mac, that brother could go, man.
Oh, I think I told you that I grew up in a place in the Bronx called Co-op City. You could look it up. It's this big development. The biggest of its kind. And right across the street from my house, there was a basketball court where they had these basketball tournaments, and they hold them today. But Marvin Barnes came there one summer and he played. And I didn't, but I was a lot younger then. You know, I played in the tournament too, but I didn't get to be on the court with him. So I didn't get dunked on by him. But I do know quite a number of guys who did, and they wear it as a badge of honor. I got dunked on. So, you know, you mentioned Marvin and some of his ups and downs, and you're absolutely right. It's been well documented. I know, again, doing my homework, I know you had your ups and downs, you know, with substance abuse too.
Yes. My issues were more after basketball.
Was it after?
Yeah, I mean, I was in the ABA making a lot of money, and I was a party guy. So, but I never lost control or anything. Until I was out of basketball, and I was still getting paid money. I was still getting paid money, and I still had a lot of free time. When you're an addict and you have a lot of free time and a lot of money, you can get in trouble. And you know, but God saved me.
You helped a number of NBA guys too, right? John Lucas and Dirk Minifield and
Dirk and John. John had a place, a facility in Houston, and I called John the lowest point in my life when I was suicidal. I mean, I was at the end, and he said, "Gus, are you willing to come down here and spend some time with me?" And I said, "John, I don't have any money left or insurance." He said, "MFer," he said, "I didn't ask you that. I asked you, are you willing to come down here and spend some time with me?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "All right, we'll get you down here." I went to Houston on May 26, 1993, and I got clean and sober. And it's been a heck of a journey from that day on. Let me tell you, that man saved my life with his place. Dirk Minifield he's in recovery also. He works for the NBA now for many, many years. Good friend of mine, real good friend. Helped me a lot also.
I remember him.
Yes. Yeah. Kentucky. He has one of the most awesome pictures I've ever seen in his office. It's him, his whole elbow and everything is above the rim. He was dunking on somebody. Dirk wasn't, you know, he was a big guard, but I mean, I didn't know he had ups like that. And until I saw that photo, I said, "Dirk, I don't remember these days, brother. Where'd they go?" He said, "Oh, I got a little too much weight now," because we played in some leagues in Houston. We were all clean and sober. We got in great shape. So we terrorized the YMCAs and
oh my goodness,
the other open leagues around town. We, you know, Dirk, myself,
I can only imagine. I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Tell me about the last season in the ABA. Okay, so by now, there's more than just ripples in the water that something big is about to happen, right? Nobody was really sure at that point how many teams or which teams or how this was all going to shake out. What is what are the players talking about?
We couldn't wait. We knew the ABA was in dire straits. Some guys weren't, their checks were bouncing on some of those teams that folded, like the Squires and some teams. We were fortunate in Denver because we sold out every game, 18,000 at McNichols, brand new arena, which is torn down. Every arena I've played in is torn down. That shows you're old, but we were fortunate. We would talk about how we wanted to get to that league to compete against those guys because we knew we could play with the NBA teams. That first year at Denver, we won 63 games in the NBA, won the division, lost to Portland in the Western Conference Finals. The year Portland won the championship with Walton and Maurice Lucas. He had went
Dave Warzik, Bobby Groves. Yeah.
Yes. Johnny Davis, Lionel Hollins.
Yep.
But we talked about, we couldn't wait to get there. We wanted to play with and against those guys because we knew we could compete. Pardon me. We knew we could play in the ABA. We didn't get the respect from a lot of their players. And I think their players might have knew because they had to know what Doc was all about, what David Thompson was all about, what Moses Malone was all about, what Bobby Jones was all about. I could go Artis Gilmore.
There's a long list. I mean, you haven't even gotten to Larry Keenan
I know, right? Yeah.
So, Byron Beck. I like Byron Beck.
Byron was solid. He was real solid. So we knew we would go in Denver, that we were going to be one of the teams that merged in. We knew because our fan base, we sold out every game. We had David Thompson, Bobby Jones, Dan Issel.
So there wasn't a whole lot of there wasn't a whole lot. I'm looking for a word here, but there wasn't a whole lot of speculation. Y'all were pretty sure.
Yeah, we were pretty sure we were going in. If not, there would have been a dispersal draft, and
we were pretty sure they did have that.
Up. Yeah, they ended up doing that.
So I know that you guys what's going on in the NBA now with this, everybody's handshaking and hugging and laughing and carrying on. Now, you guys were the original pro basketball fraternity.
That's right.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you guys during that final season, when you played against these other guys, I don't know, maybe you had a conversation before opening tip. Were there any conversations between you guys and other players from different teams about what might be about to happen?
There was a lot of noise being talked, but it was competition. It wasn't no hugging and high-fiving and stuff. The other team. Exactly. I mean, because you had to play or you get dunked on in the second in the ABA. Somebody would dunk on you in the second. There were guys I never even heard of that could play. There was a guy, Bo Peep Lamar. He played for San Diego Conquistadors.
I remember Bo Lamar. Yeah,
he shot as far as downtown Freddie Brown, the Curry's range, Steph Curry's kind of range. Bo Lamar was Dwight Lamar, buddy called him Bo Peep. He was doing that back in the 70s, we brought the three-point line into the NBA. I wish they'd have brought the ball in, man. You know how pretty that ball is going through the air with that rotation on.
Well, that's if you see my background, and this is I don't want this to be shameless self-promotion, but you see the background. I'm the commissioner of a league called the NBL, National Basketball League United States, and you'll be interested to hear this. Our league is the only one of its kind in that we are an exposure league, but we also have a direct affiliation with other professional leagues overseas. And so you've got, there's an umbrella of NBL teams in New Zealand and Czech Republic and so forth.
All right.
So we're a part of that. And here in America, while they play with that brown ball elsewhere, we play with a red, white, and blue ball. And that was at my urging because, kind of a nod to the NBA, I mean ABA, but I like what you said because of rotation. It's yeah, I'm sure you've coached guys too. Correct me if I'm wrong, and you've helped them learn how to shoot the ball, and you tell them watch the rotation. If it's going like this,
Right.
you
You
know it's
know,
okay. But if it's
as
going
a,
like that,
as a rebounder, one of the things you learn is like somebody like Paul Silas used to get 15, 16 rebounds a game, couldn't jump 2 inches off the floor. But when you watch the flight of the ball and you see the rotation coming from a shot from a corner or deep on the wing or somewhere, you can pretty much tell if you're under the basket. I could anyway. I mean, I'm sure the great rebounders all did this. You could pretty much tell where if it was going to be hitting off the side of the rim or the front of the rim or back. But with that red, white, and blue ball, you could see it so clear that you could position yourself to get the rebound. The brown, you could see the rotation on the NBA ball, but it was nothing like that ABA ball.
yeah,
That was
and
special.
I still love the ABA ball, and I know that they've brought the ABA ball back for a short period of time. I'm hoping that I could dig up enough pennies so I could get one. But so let me ask you this now. I mean, because I'm really trying to get a glimpse as to how the thinking was, and maybe even the emotions of that last season. Because again, you guys know what's going on to a certain extent, but you don't know it all, especially guys outside of Denver. But now, let's go to the playoffs. So the regular season is gone, and now the playoffs. You get to the finals against the Nets.
Yes,
So
after a
you know
tough
you're down
series,
to a precious few.
after a 6-game or 7-game series, real tough with the Kentucky Colonels. They took us to the limits at Denver, but we won in Kentucky in Game 6. Chucky Williams hit a shot to win the game, and then we went on to play the Nets in the finals. And I told you we matched up pretty well with them all year. In fact, we blew them out a few times in Denver, and we won so many games. We only lost probably not even 20 games that year, maybe 15 games to most. The first game in Denver, we had home court advantage, sold out. They comes down to the last shot in that darn Dr. J. He fades away from the corner. Wasn't a three, but it was right on his foot was right on the line, nothing but net, and it crushed us. They beat us by 1 point. And that kind of turned the whole series around, that game right there. And they beat us in 6.
But when you got so let's talk about Game 6. You guys, before the game, what is Larry Brown saying in the locker room in terms of
Larry? Yeah, I got you. He was saying we just have to play with confidence. He thought we maybe have lost some confidence after that first game. We weren't as sharp.
Defensively, was he telling you? I mean, I would imagine Doc was the primary defensive assignment. Yes. But did you have, I mean, we all know what Super John was like, but did anyone have any inkling that John Williamson was going to do what he did? I mean,
no, what he did in that second half of that game, he took over that game. I don't even know who I'd compare him to in the NBA.
I saw somebody in one of the rooms that you and I are in together on Facebook. Somebody said he was the original Vinnie Johnson, and I thought that was the perfect comparison.
Yeah, that's good. That's real good. Absolutely, because Super John Soup, we called him. He'd hit them runners off 1 foot and the other foot and
off the wrong foot.
Yeah, off the wrong foot. I mean, strong as a bull. He was tougher than any of our guards. And we had Ralph Simpson was a big, physical, strong guard, and he couldn't deal with him at all. Super John, Doc was great, but they don't win that series or that game without Super John and Brian Taylor too.
Brian Taylor, that whole squad. I mean, they were loaded. I mean, Tim Bassett, Brian Taylor, Bill Melchione, I believe, was on that team, right? Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, so I mean, they were loaded. You guys were loaded. I mean, I still remember. I'm sorry, I still remember Monty Towell.
Yeah,
and
Well, Monty was there. You know, Monty hung in there. I mean, he was short and everything. He couldn't have. He actually played well in that game. Us guys came off the bench in that game. Myself and Monty, we were the ones that really got that 23-point lead. Then Larry, for some reason, decided when the Nets started making a run midway through the third and fourth quarter, he never played us anymore. The guys off the bench, he stuck with his guys, and we could see that you could feel the momentum shifting, and that crowd in Uniondale at Nassau Coliseum got rocking, and Doc started doing his thing, and Super John was going off, and 23 points was down to 12 and then 10, and you could just feel it. And Larry, the whole time, we were just looking over at him like, why don't you put us in? You know, let us go in. These guys need a break, man. You know, we could take it back to where we had it. And he just, I don't want to say froze up, but he froze up, in my opinion.
Wow. It's great
coach, though. Great coach and great guy.
But you know, I imagine it's hard as the coach, because you understand that the guys came off the bench. Those off the bench, they're the ones that, you know, got you back in the game or got you the lead, whatever the circumstance may be in that particular game. But it's got to be a tough decision to decide, well, do I ride with the guys that got us to this point, or do I bring back the starters who, in most cases, coaches perceive to be the stronger players? So,
right. Well, we should have left David Thompson and Dan Issel in, and had myself give Bobby Jones a break in that second half. And who else played for us coming off the bench? Oh, Claude Terry was on our team.
Terry,
He could
that's
shoot the
right.
ball. He could play a little bit. And oh God, who else do we have? Monty played good the first half, but he didn't get in the second half at all either. But I think the way Super John was playing, and as good as Brian Taylor was too fast for Monty, and Super John was too big. So I'm not so much sure how he would have helped that second half, but the way they were playing. But
well, Monty could penetrate.
The rotation we had going was so good. I mean, we were clicking so well together. And then the whole rotation just changed. And we're sitting there looking at each other, watching 23-point lead just chipped away and chipped away. And Bobby Jones, as great as he was, Doc was abusing him. I mean, and he was abusing Bobby. And, of course, they eventually became teammates and world champions in Philly. But Bobby was a heck of a guy and heck of a player, but he had asthma or issues and stuff. And so he would get winded sometimes. He was on some medication for a couple things. And he would get worn down sometimes. And I could see it happening to him. And I would go in for Bobby, and the coach never put me back in. And I the first half of that game, I had like 6 straight points and probably about 4 rebounds. I guarded Doc. He never scored on me. You know, I guarded him.
You were playing well. I know this because I saw the video of the game a number of times, you know, on YouTube. And so I know you were playing well. Claude Terry, you know, at times it seemed like he, you know, you didn't notice he was there, but I thought he played well in spurts. Yeah. I mean, you're a pro, so you understand you can have an impact on the game without lighting up the scoring sheet.
Claude's job was to shoot threes. He was a 3-point shooter. He could shoot the ball. He could guard, and he liked to share the ball too.
So solid.
He played his role.
He was just solid.
Yeah,
he was absolutely a solid player. So the final buzzer sounds. Win, lose, or draw, that's the end of the ABA. And you guys knew it at this time. So the locker room afterward, I mean.
Like a morgue, Mac. Guys were crying. Guys were just had their heads down. Guys were sitting in the shower, just shaking their heads. They were out there drinking champagne on the court and in the locker room. We could hear them. And we were in shock. We were devastated because we knew if we won that game, that 7th game, it wouldn't have even been close. That's how confident we were going back after that first half, getting that 23-point lead. There would have been no way they would have hung with us in this game 7 in Denver.
So what's the strategy going into game 7, do you think? Is it, okay, we'll make it hard for Doc. We're not going to stop him, but we're going to just make him work hard for his 40 and stop everybody else.
Yeah, but here's the thing. It's more about the offense, Mac, I believe, because role players coming off the bench and play better at home, usually. A lot of role players will make shots at home that they miss on the road. They seem to have more confidence with fans. Our bench was deep. We had a good bench. Marvin Webster was on that team, the human eraser.
Yes, indeed.
He's another big man that passed away. Man.
Yeah. We've lost a number of guys the last 10 years or so. When I say we, not that I put myself as part of y'all's family, but we, as in those of us who love basketball and not only ABA guys, NBA too, but and Marvel was a Nick too, so but yeah, two guys gone way too soon. Him, Marvin, Maurice,
Moses, Daryl Dawkins, Moses.
Daryl, another one. Yep, Moses was a picture of health. I had seen him somewhere not long before he died. He was on TV somewhere.
Yeah, he was I had seen him about 2 months before he died. We had a reunion with the Spirits of St. Louis.
Okay.
And we were all together. Moses was there, of course, because he finished the ABA with St. Louis.
Right.
And he looked great. He sounded great. He was laughing, having a good time. And it might not even been 2 months later. It might have been more like a month later. He was at a charity golf tournament or something, and that's when he passed. Wow. I think it was maybe for Calvin Murphy or somebody had a charity tournament, and Moses was there as a celebrity guest, and that's when he got.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that it was at a charity event. I had no idea. All right, so I said I was going to do this for no more than half an hour, so I'm going to ask you a couple of quick questions, and then we're going to finish. Got to ask you about Stu Johnson. I know you guys played against each other 10 times, and I know that. In fact, I was looking at video footage today. January 15th, I believe it is, of 1975. The Sounds and the Spirits going up against each other. Do you remember what happened that game? Do you know how many points you scored?
No, I don't remember.
Okay, so you scored 2 points.
I scored 2 points? Oh my God.
A paltry 2 points.
Oh my God.
And do you have any idea what Stu Johnson might have done that night?
Maybe 46 or something. I don't know.
Oh, you're good. He got 40. 40 points on 20 field goals. The guy didn't even go to the foul line.
No, he didn't have to because he never missed. Stu was like, man, Stu could light it up. And see, I saw Stu play in Pittsburgh when he was with the Condors or Pipers.
Condors, yeah.
With Connie Hawkins and them. He was in Pittsburgh during that time, and I was in high school. And I saw him play a couple of times in Pittsburgh. So when I got to play against him, I knew what he was all about, the way he could shoot. I remember that game kind of now. Stu can light. He was one of the great shooters. They just don't know, Matt, today about the guys in that league. They don't know about Stu like they should. They talk about guys in the NBA coming in, they're making 10 million, 12 million, 20 million a year just because they can shoot the ball, spot up shooter. Stu could shoot with any of those guys. They just don't. It's just a different era, different times. And I just wish they would, they would understand a little bit where all this stuff in the NBA, I've seen all that that they're doing now. I've seen all that. And
Stu was a pioneer in his own right back in college, and then, of course, I believe he held the record for a short while, didn't he? The scoring record in the ABA, I think he 63. Yeah. And then a fella named Miller, whose first name escapes me, went out and scored 67.
Larry Miller, maybe?
Larry Miller, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't play against him. I think he was retired by the time I got there. I think that might have been a year before or something. But Larry Miller played at North Carolina. And yeah, and I remember that he beat Stu or something because he scored 67, did you say?
Yeah, Miller got 67, and I believe Stu was 63. And Julius, and I remember this game because I was in my bedroom in New York watching Doc and the Nets were going up against San Diego in San Diego. And there was this wild well, after three quarters, I think the score was something like 112 to 106. So I was like, okay, I better sit here. So during the commercial break, I think I went and got my Fig Newtons and some sodas or Kool-Aid or something. I told everybody, leave me alone. I think we're going to see something special here. And it turned out that it was like 3 or 4 overtime game. Doc went for 63, and the Nets didn't win. They lost. But what a show. But
there was another guy on that team. They had Stu and I think Travis Machine Gun Grant played on that team too with San Diego.
On the San Diego?
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna have to check the roster. I didn't realize that that Stu was on that team. I'm gonna have to check that out. And hopefully I get to check it out before I interview him because I'm gonna ask him about that game.
Yeah. You said Stu wasn't in that game?
No, I'm saying I'm not sure. I'm gonna check. I'm gonna check. I mean, thank goodness for the internet. You can find the stats for these kinds of things. But I know Doc got 63 and somebody got 40. It might have been Stu. Somebody from San Diego went for 40, I think.
Or it might have been Travis Grant, Machine Gun Grant.
It might have been Travis Grant. Yeah, it might have been too.
Or it might have been Bo Lamar.
So, okay, we're going to play 20 seconds, okay?
Right.
And I'm going to say word association. I'm going to mention the name, and you just tell me the first thing that pops in your head. Dr. J.
Phenomenal.
Okay, Larry Brown.
Great coach.
Okay. George Mikan.
Pioneer.
That's the word I thought of. Okay. Stu Johnson.
Oh, automatic. Yeah, automatic.
Okay. David Thompson.
Phenomenal.
Dave DeBuscher.
Workman. Went to work with his lunch pail.
Doug Moe.
Tough Doug. He was tough.
All right. Man, Gus, this was a pleasure, man. I mean, this was fun. This was fun.
It was fun. I appreciate you having me on. I don't know you, but I knew you. I mean, just because of the conversations we've had on Facebook and some of the comments and stuff, I felt like I already knew you, and getting to do this with you has been my pleasure, man. I appreciate it. I love talking ABA basketball.
Well, thank you again. One day, I hope we get a chance to do this again, and we could go into some of the regular, some of the other years. But I wanted to get your take on, when you first came into the league versus, the end of the ABA ride. And we got to talk, man. We got to talk about Buffalo. I know you weren't there that long. Buffalo and Kansas City.
Kansas City was a good team. We won the Midwest Division those couple years with Cotton Fitzsimmons, Phil Ford, Otis Birdsong, Sam Lacey, Scott Wedman, Bill Robinson.
Was that okay? So you mentioned Scott Wedman. So were you there on that team when Wedman and Grunfeld had to start in the playoffs against the Celtics, and y'all beat the Kings? Beat the
Rockets against the Rockets.
Yeah, that was the Rockets. That's right. Yeah.
Bill Ford got hurt. Ernie had to play point. Ernie Grunfeld. Scott played a small forward. Wedman. Ernie played point, and Moses and that team, Calvin Murphy, Moses, Robert Reed, they beat Kansas City and went on to play the Celtics in the championship. Larry Bird's first championship.
Okay, I'm glad you corrected me, because I, for some reason, thought all these years that he shifted, Coach Fitzsimmons, I thought he had shifted Wedman to play in the backcourt with.
He may have, he may have. Because we were shorthanded. Yeah.
That was some kind of game.
Otis played pretty much the whole game, though. He never got tired. Otis Birdsong. He was another great player people don't know about. I mean, except
I mean, y'all were missing both of them that game, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, this was fun. I got a chance to interview Birdsong. I got a chance to interview Nate Archibald one time. You remember Lloyd Walton?
Oh yeah, from Marquette. Sure.
Yeah. I got a chance to meet him years ago up in Carp City. He was friends with somebody I was friends with, so I just by happenstance we happened to be there at the same time. But yeah, I remember Lloyd. He seemed like everybody was up for the Knicks, man. It just feels like he had all his best games against the Knicks.
You know why it is? It's when you as a traveling player, the first time I went into Madison Square Garden, the Mecca, you know, I mean, playing the Knicks in Madison Square Garden. I mean, you wanted to show out because those people know basketball in there. I mean, they would tell you if you were sucking up the night, you know, if you were playing bad, they would tell you don't belong in this league. They'd yell stuff at you like, or hey, man, even if you were on the other team, they'd get on you, but they'd say after the game, they'd look at you and give you a nod or something like, yeah, nice game, dude. And it was a great, teams always got up to play in New York. That was the Mecca. You know,
absolutely.
That's why you feel that way, because they did play their best games, a lot of them in Madison Square Garden.
When your first time playing in Madison Square Garden, you was with the Pistons, right? I mean, as an NBA player, you was with the Pistons.
Oh, I was with the Buffalo Braves. I've been traded from Denver to Buffalo.
So you was with McAdoo, right?
Me, Billy Knight, me. Shoemate was on that team. Adrian Dantley was a rookie. Ernie DiGregorio, Randy Smith. Sean Shoemate, I said, was on there. Gianelli, Billy Knight.
Okay.
Sean may have been gone by then. But anyway, everybody got up for New York, Mac. Everybody got up.
Yeah, it happens now, and the Knicks are not a good ball club, and people are just licking their chops. Everybody thinks they're going to go in and get 50.
To me, when the Knicks are competitive and good, the NBA is better. You know, because think of the games that would be on Sunday afternoon with all the stations now to do the primetime games on all the week long, really, and weekends. If the Knicks were competitive and you had, you know, these guys going in there and showing out in the Garden against a competitive Knick team, and the crowd was rocking like when Bernard King was there. And and when Willis and Clyde were there, and those guys, man.
The Bush, Reed, Frazier, Bradley, Monroe, Barnett,
Yeah. I mean, that must have been a treat for you growing up.
It was. And, you know, just as an aside, you know, we've had a lot of talk. You know, we've mentioned Dr. J a number of times during this interview, but I'll tell you, I made it a point to go see the Knicks play when the Sixers were in town. And the layup line, man, you had Hall of Famers. You had Frazier, Monroe, and Bradley at one end, along with the other guys. All right. At the other end, you had the dunk off, and all of us, I say myself included, shamefully, we were at the Sixer end trying to get the closest view of the dunk off between Doc and
Daryl
Dawkins and Lloyd Free, you know, and oh man,
George McGinnis.
Yeah, McGinnis. Yeah, see, he's number 4 among the guys we just mentioned. He's number 4 among the dunkers, but he was a pretty good dunk. He would just try and rip the rim off when he dunked.
Yeah.
He was another Gilmore. He just trying to tear the rim off. But yeah, so you're right. It was a treat. But listen, I know you got to go. You know, I said I'd respect your time. Thank you for your time this time. Till next time, and we'll talk again. And for those of you who are watching this, I hope it was as entertaining for you as it was educational for me. So y'all take care. Be blessed. Do something nice for somebody, and we will see you again real soon.
Later, Mac. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks again.